Hi, this is Jenny Hudson with the Author Connection, the voice of independent authors. And tonight, as my guest, I'm pleased to have Phillip Henry, who is a winner in Merrimack Media's first annual Writers Contest. And he has his book, Hunter Hunted, and he's going to be telling us about that in a minute. Phillip is originally from Canada, and he moved to New England in 2001. He currently resides just outside of Boston, and his day job is working in IT as a systems analyst. And he's going to tell us about his writing in just a second. Well, welcome, and so glad to have you here. Let me get you on there, and welcome.
Great. Hi, Jenny. Nice to meet you.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
So I'm going to switch this over and just put this on you right now. And so Hunter Hunted took place right outside of Boston, and it has a very, very unusual storyline. Can you tell us about the storyline without giving too much away, and maybe tell us about the places around Boston that are in the book?
Sure. So the story Hunter Hunted, it centers on my protagonist, Michael Mahoney. Michael Mahoney is a werewolf. He's been that way for most of his life. And for most of his life, he's seen that ability as more of a curse than a blessing. And as a result, he's kind of isolated himself from a lot of people around him, just trying to, just keeping very close company with his family, with his mother and father. So the most important thing to Michael has always been keeping a secret, keeping this secret. So after a couple of decades, suddenly one day out of the blue, he sent some very mysterious messages. These from some folks who are warning him. They're warning him that they are coming to get him, that he has something that they need, and that there's going to be some trauma involved in getting it. So very quickly, very suddenly, his isolationist bubble is just burst, and what he needs to do then is reach out for help from people who he never wanted to have to deal with, and who never wanted to have to deal with him. So the story revolves around him doing that, and he needs to find out why these people are after him, and most importantly, he's got to stay alive while doing it.
So what about the Boston settings? Where does this take place, and what does that have to do with the story?
Well, I had moved here in 2001, like you mentioned, and I just thought it would be a lot of fun to kind of center the story around New England. So I use some actual landmarks for some major sequences in the story. I use Faneuil Hall. I use the TD Garden for one small sequence. I use Lovejoy Wharf right by the TD Garden. I make references to New Hampshire and to kind of the University corridor. I make references as well to Cambridge and Kendall Square because I did work there for a company several years ago, so I was a little familiar with that area. And I just thought it would be kind of a great story to center part of it somewhere very concrete. And it would be a kick for anybody who actually is reading the story. If they want to look up a particular location, find out the location actually exists.
Right, and I love the idea of there being a werewolf in Boston. Whoa. So how did you get this idea about werewolves? Have you always been interested in werewolves, or is this something new? And how long have you been writing?
All right, so the werewolf connection. I've always had a love for paranormal. Vampires, werewolves, all that kind of good stuff. Not so much with the cliched stereotypes of Dracula and the Wolfman, but more like the characters themselves who have a great backstory. Like the movie that's coming out soon, Dracula Untold. I really want to see that because it takes a very different kind of slant on where Dracula came from. So this story, my werewolf story, actually started about 20 years ago when I was fresh out of college. I just I just started writing. I was kind of a little bit of a creative writer at the time, and wrote this story, and it was a really horrible story, is what it was. And so it never really went anywhere.
Wait a minute. It was not well written, or was it a horrible story?
No, it was not well written.
Okay.
It was not well written at all.
Most people's first stories are not well written.
Yeah, it was not very well written at all.
Yeah.
So, so that it just kind of didn't go anywhere at all. After that, I kind of left it, and then life intervened, and I got into the IT industry and started working. Moved here to New England, and then I picked up writing about 6 or 7 years ago again, just out of the blue one day, detecting a theme. Out of the blue, I decided to give some creative writing a try, and so I wrote a little short story called "The Elephant in the Living Room," and submitted it to the Writer's Digest 75th anniversary short story contest. And lo and behold, after not writing for the better part of 15 years, I won an honorable mention.
Whoa.
So I was kind of excited about that. So I thought to myself, maybe this writing thing, maybe I can do it after all these years. So I started writing as regularly as I could, and probably turned out another half dozen or 8 really badly written short stories. And then the werewolf story came back to me one more time. So I started writing it out, but without any sort of plan or anything. So I just kind of realized after writing it for a couple of months, I had 45 pages and a bunch of very disparate sequences, and it didn't really all fit, and I didn't know where I was going. So I regrouped again and took about 8 months to very meticulously plan the whole story out. And then, excuse me, and then started writing, and wrote once again as regularly as I could. And it took a couple of years to finish, but that's where the story came from.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
And I think that is a really important thing for writers to hear who are just starting out too, that it might not happen right away, and your first story is maybe not your best story, and that
Absolutely.
you have to keep working at it, and it's a discipline, and if you don't keep at it, it's not going to happen. It's not a magic thing. So tell us what the main takeaway of Hunter Hunted is.
The main takeaway is kind of it's my log line that I put on my Facebook and my Google Plus page. It's you can't outrun your past. It's about taking ownership of your life and taking personal responsibility for who you are. My main character, Michael, he doesn't do that for most of his life, and tries to hide who he is, who he really is. And he finds out that when you try to do that, your past and who you really are does catch up to you. Some ways, sometimes in very surprising ways.
Oh, I think that's great. So what's next for you? Another book, or what do you think?
Absolutely. Actually, this story had no plans to be continued until I was about halfway through it, and realized that there were a lot of different parts to it that I needed to tell outside of this book. So what's next is books 2 and 3. I intend for it to be a trilogy, and
Wow.
there are a lot of pieces to it that are just not finished in book 1 that I need to kind of pull on the thread and create a story in 2 and 3. And so I'm going to, so that I'm in the starting processes of planning book 2 right now.
Oh, that's excellent. So is there anything that you would like to tell people that I have forgotten to ask you?
Well, the format, the style of the book is kind of unusual for a werewolf kind of a book. It's written in the style of a police procedural, like Ed McBain's 87th Precinct series, like Law and Order. It's meant to be very staccato, and I break the days down into very consumable sequences. So. And the whole story takes place over 8 days. So it's meant to be a self-contained unit, and to be enjoyed by you'll be able to, when you get to the end of it, you'll be a sigh of relief, and you'll be able to enjoy it, and then hope and wait for the next book to come out.
Oh, that sounds really great. So, where can people find this book?
Well, this book is going to be is going to come out on Pubslush in the very near future. Um, so it is my intent that I need to finish my video promotion and start my funding campaign to get the book published and edited. It's going to be in ebook and paperback formats. So that's all going to be done in the very near future, and I expect that it'll be available for download and purchase and all that kind of good stuff in the first half of next year, so 2015.
Right, and I know that PubSlush has a new thing that it's not just crowdfunding; it's pre-buying the book. So,
Yes.
yeah, so that you're pre-ordering it. So, and that's really
Absolutely.
great. And so that's a way that people can help support you and help support the book and this new trilogy that's about to be born, which is really, really exciting. So I'm going to switch this back right now to
Okay.
eh, let me see, split screen. Yeah, okay. So here I am, and there you are. And so I want to thank you for being on the Author Connection, and it's been a pleasure. And
Thank you.
I'm certainly going to look forward to your book. And again, congratulations on your honorable mention. We were delighted
Thank you.
to have you. So this is Jenny Hudson, and this is the Author Connection. There are more shows on merrimackmedia.com. We make books happen, and please visit us again. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye now.